Let's just do this.
Let's do this.
Everything okay? Everything
Yes. My sergeant, he was going to a brass quintet rehearsal, and he needed someone to cover his shift for an hour or two, and I was the next readily available, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So that's why I had to rush. It's like I'm just one of those people who goes, oh crap, deadline, oh crap, sergeant wants something, I gotta rush. Ah!
No, honestly, if there's anyone who understands that, it's not only a Navy brat, but also is just as OCD about deadlines, so don't worry about that.
It's like, oh crap, deadline! Ah!
uh, yeah, no, that's like I said, no problem at all. So yeah, honestly, it sort of sounds like what we were talking about before that. I mean, it's like, okay, so let's get criticism from me about your video, so you can like whatever get more views and stuff. It's like it seems like your views are fine, and only growing. So I think the last thing we were talking about, honestly, is just like the pros and cons of celebrity.
Yeah, it's an interesting it's an interesting topic, but because it's just one of those things that it's like you realize, oh come on, how bad could it be to be an internet celebrity? And then when you're actually there, it's like, oh, yeah.
It depends. A lot of it is how much you let it get to you and how much you don't let certain stuff get to you. I mean, it's a good part of it too is that like always realizing that the internet as well as fans in general, I mean, it's always a filter of reality. It's not actual reality, because there's you know all this stuff. There's no consequences to what people say or do online and stuff. So of course they're not gonna, they're gonna be as savage and not thinking as possible half the time. But the nice thing is that when you come across those people that do have nice things to say and are very cool or looking for advice and stuff, you can communicate with them right away. You don't have to, and there usually is not much of a filter there either because you can just communicate with them directly. I will say that two things I realized when I was starting to get more of a celebrity growing and people were recognizing me, is that you still always, I'm sure you have no problem with this, but you still always gotta respect your fans, like, and you gotta love them because, as you know, you'd be like nothing without them. I mean, you wouldn't be like anywhere. I mean, people gotta come back and watch stuff. And my dad actually gave me a bit of advice that was very helpful. He says, because when I started to get recognized in restaurants and stuff, I didn't know how to take it and I acted very uncomfortable. Like,
Oh
you know who
gosh.
I am? That's creepy, huh? But. And my dad told me, because he did a lot of concerts and stuff, he gave me a great word of advice. He said, whatever comment you hear, even if you've heard it a million times, like word for word, always act like it's the first time you heard it. So whenever somebody says, your stuff is so funny and just means the world to me, I mean, just always look shocked and, oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much. It's so kind of you to say. I mean, that's wonderful to hear. I mean, people are usually looking for that acknowledgement that they're being heard, honestly, and not too much else. That's the interesting thing. As long as you look them in the eye and acknowledge what you have just said, I hear, I recognize your existence pretty much, and I have heard what you have just said, and it's registered with me. A lot of times, that's all they need. So that's sort of a biggie. And oh shit, now I'm forgetting the other thing. Well, I'll tell you what. Enough of me talking. Tell me about your concerns. Tell me, because it sounded like you're acting very concerned about this sudden kind of celebrity that's being thrown upon you here, and sort of the cons it can carry.
Well, it's people. Whenever people call me, they always in my MLP reviews. I've been. It's like lately I've been collabing with some people, and then all of a sudden I'm getting a ton of messages on Skype, and I'm getting a ton of messages on Steam, and I'm getting a ton of messages like on my YouTube channel asking for people to collab with me. It's like I've even got messages on my DeviantArt account. And it's just I'm suddenly overwhelmed with all this attention of people asking me to collab with me. It's like I don't know you. I don't know if you're any good. And then then they always ask, then they always do this dreaded sentence, well, why don't we get to know each other a little better?
Well, okay, here's the other thing too, honestly, that there was a time, particularly during the demo reel stuff, when I don't want to say there was like a fear of the fans, but there was this constant need to want to please them because we want to succeed. And when you do that, you start to lose what makes you unique. So the best thing I can advise for that is that take constructive criticism, but only listen to the ones that you feel they're right about. Because the videos I've discovered now that are the most successful and the most quoted and stuff of mine are the ones that usually start off with the most hate. And if I listen to the fans, there would be no Fight with the Nerd, no Moulin Rouge, no Man of Steel, all these really big hit videos that now are like ones that none of the anniversary specials would exist if I listened to, what a lot of angry fans were saying, and these are the ones that are now quoted the most and they're bought the most and people watch them the most. So it's not that you ignore the criticism. You only listen to the ones that deep down in your gut you say, I think they're right, even if one is constructive or one is just being a jerk. If they say something where you go, I think they're right about that, then start to question it and see what you can do. Because you can turn out really good stuff from that too. Like with the Man of Steel one, I was just going to do a straightforward review, but because there was such a split about it and people were either die hard, don't do it, or, yeah, come on, let's see what you can do, that there was even a thought of maybe not doing it, where I said, look, why don't I do a crossover with Joe, because he likes the video and we've never done a crossover with him, and I think this can make for really good comedy and a lot of great stuff. And if it wasn't for that feedback of people saying, hey, I don't want to see this, I think it's going to suck and so forth, I probably wouldn't have done the crossover with Joe, and we wouldn't have had that great video, and it's like one of my new favorites now. So, listen to the criticism if you feel it's right. If somebody says something sucks or I don't like this and you disagree and your gut says, no, this is funny, keep with it, do exactly that. Just keep with what you feel is truly good stuff, because that's why people came to see you in the first place.
Yeah, if you don't mind me, it's funny you should mention criticism. There's actually only one video of yours that there's two videos of yours that I have a problem with. And would you mind if I said anything about it?
Please.
All right. The first video that I had a problem with was your Willy Wonka versus Charlie. I'm one of those people who likes the Burton version better.
That's fine. Like it, man.
And it's just one of your when you said that when the story was about Charlie, yet you bundled him in the group of secondary characters. That kind of confused me.
In which one, the Burton one or the original?
Well, when you did the when you did the old versus new, you said that you bundled Charlie into the other characters instead of giving him his own category, but you said he was the main character.
It depends on which one you're talking about. For example, and I could have screwed up. Don't get me wrong, but like in the original Willy Wonka, I felt Charlie was the main character. Where in it's ironic the way they're titled, because in Charlie and the Chocolate
Yes.
Factory, I felt much more Willy Wonka was the main character. It was his dilemma that we were trying to get through. Where in the first one, it was Charlie's dilemma we were trying to get through. So. Yeah, and if I got that wrong in the old versus new, I just got it wrong then.
Yeah. That's I just actually relate to the newer Charlie a lot more because I was that kid growing up. It's just
no, I hear you. Yeah.
I was that kid. I was that kid who never got in trouble. I was that kid who did everything my parents. I was that unselfish kid who did everything my parents wanted me to do. And I just see that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me. And I look at the older Charlie, I'm like, come on, kid, stop whining. I lived in Kenya for 4 years. You got it good.
And that's always the thing too. I mean, I always do a panel at cons called Movies Everyone Disagrees with You With, and I always mention some movie that like everyone strongly disagrees with me on, because everybody has one. And what I try to show is that there's no right or wrong. You're gonna have your reason why you like something or dislike something, and if anything, when you share it, instead of trying to shove your opinion in someone else's face, when you share it with someone, you find out, more about them. Like, I didn't know that thing about you living in Kenya. Like, that's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
I never would have known that. And by sharing that, it's like, wow, I find out something new about you. So,
Oh.
yeah, it's always a shame when people go in thinking they have to fight for it, when really I see it more as a sharing experience. That's part of the fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, different strokes, different folks. I can see why people don't like the new one. I can see why people don't like the new one, but still, it's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, enjoy it, man. No, there's definitely a lot of stuff to
Yeah,
like about.
yeah. The second criticism I had with one of your was the Pearl Harbor review. It's like, and when I was listening to your rant about about the whole what was it
Is it the swimmers?
yeah, the swimmers, and I was listening to this and I'm like, oh my gosh, he respects the military, but he got one of his facts wrong.
You know, when no, because that is one that people were sort of pointing out, and I think what I was really trying to lean towards a bit, because I kind of knew that going in, but what I was trying to explain a little bit more, and I don't think came across. But how do I put it? It's kind of like in Titanic, if out of nowhere they just said, "We're out of lifeboats." Oh darn! And that was it. Where they build up. No, there's not enough lifeboats on this ship if something was to happen, and they also build up. A lot of those are being sent out half full. It seems like you're doing this just to pass time, like it's not really sinking. You're dodging your responsibility. They go into why this stuff is happening, where in Pearl Harbor, like, that's an unbelievable fact that there actually were people, not many, but there were people who it was not required they know how to swim.
And that's nowadays. And that's nowadays. Well, sort of nowadays. It's like nowadays we have mandatory swim qualification, but there are people who join the Navy and join the Marines without knowing how to swim, and it just boggles my mind. Honestly, it's like, what part of the word Marine and Navy do you not get?
See, and I guess in my opinion, rather than Bay not actually look at this and make it about the people and make it about the way this was put together and, make it about Pearl Harbor, it's instead a throwaway line just to go, oh, they can't swim. And to me, it's like, that's a huge missed opportunity, again, to bring in the emotion of the men rather than this cheap-ass love triangle going on. So and I don't think that came across, and I think I did sort of focus on the wrong element there, and
Yeah.
like I said, I did kind of know that going in, and I was kind of playing to both sides, and I shouldn't have done that. I should have made it more clear that this should have been explained better, and it should have been kept more on the focus of the men. That's what got me angry, that it was not focusing on the real men that died. It's instead this bullshit fake love story.
Yeah, that ticked me off too. It's just, I'm looking at that, it's like, what? No, it's like, who cares about these people? They weren't there.
Well, and to Titanic's credit, even though there's plenty to not like about Titanic, but to their credit, you got to know those people. You got to know, like, the people that drowned, the people that survived. You got to know their names and kind of their personalities. And even though they're interacting with these fictional characters, you remember them. I remember Cuba Gooding Jr. and no one else in Pearl Harbor, and I think that's a huge disrespect.
Oh yeah, so I was just wondering. It's like, those are just the two things that ever since I've watched you, it's like those are the only two things that have bugged me. And out of like several hundred videos, that's pretty good.
Actually, I was gonna say too, another thing to keep in mind, and again, I say this because you're clearly rising and doing very well on YouTube here. You gotta know, if you haven't already, you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna do stuff wrong. Everybody does, and
every
sadly,
video I make a mistake.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And sadly, we live in kind of a society or whatever where people really like to harp on that and really like to attack. And I think maybe they feel a little bit like they feel a touch more important if they can be right about something that this famous person is not, and they feel a little tough or whatever. But the way you accept a mistake or a failure or whatever plays out big. Like, that can really keep you big, honestly. I mean, that's one of the reasons I had the the top 11 fuck up videos for a while and stuff, because people like the fact, oh, he can make fun of it and he can joke around with it, or even if I tried something and it just didn't pan out or people didn't like it, I mean, just joke with it, have fun with it, just acknowledge, well, yeah, that's the game.
Yeah, I really like this quote by Brad Stein. It's like, if It's like, do you want one of the simplest tests for maturity is if you cannot laugh at yourself.
Oh, very true. Yeah, and I think people want to see that, and if anything, that's very inspiring too, because they can see, oh, like I can fail at something and come back from that too, just like this celebrity did, or and usually like sometimes even the bigger the failure and the bigger the comeback, the more inspiring it can be. Which I'm not saying go out of your way and fail big, but it could happen. You never know. I mean, it's about taking risks. It's calculated risks too, and they're not always going to pay off. Some are. Like I said, a lot of the ones that people told me not to do are some of the most viewed videos. And now like the most quoted and stuff like that. So keep taking risks. Just try your best to make them calculated risks. Don't always say, well, if everyone doesn't want me to do it, naturally I must do it. Still know that you can do it, you want to do it, and that there's potential for it.
Yeah, I just wish I had actual time to do my videos because I'm in the Marine Corps band, so my schedule is very random.
Yeah, no, I'm shocked you have any time, honestly, to do it. I mean, like I said, I know they can. They work you hard. I mean, which is why I think it's all the more impressive that you are getting, as good a view count as you are, because I mean, I know these things take time. I mean, they take a lot of work, and you got some talent behind you too. So, yeah,
thank you.
Just keep it going, man. I mean, just keep growing, keep evolving, and then try new things too.
Yeah, well, try new things. It's also on my TV tropes page is that I'm an XP of you. And which I'm really trying to shy away from that. It's because towards the beginning of my videos, I did rip off a lot of your jokes, and to my everlasting shame. But it's just I'm not saying your humor's bad. It's not, I wouldn't have ripped it off otherwise. But it's just I'm trying to shy away from that. I'm trying to make myself a bit more of a unique personality and. Well, it's just really hard. It's really hard to not steal your jokes. And
look, everyone's going to be inspired by something. Like I said, I mean, I had this idea for Nostalgia Critic for a bit, but it wasn't until I saw James Rolfe doing his thing that I was like, oh, like you can do this, and there's an audience for it, and people want to see this. That I started going, and that's. I mean, the whole nerd battle came about when people were saying, hey, you're very similar to the video game nerd. It's kind of his thing, except with movies, right? Aren't you sort of stealing the nerd stuff? And
not really. Your sense of humor was a little more hyperactive than his was.
Well, but remember, not too many people were doing this kind of thing. I mean, it was him, irate gamer who clearly was stealing his jokes. But aside from that, like, nobody else was really kind of doing it at that time. So when I came about, everyone's like, oh, that's the video game nerd shtick. I mean, you're funny, but it's clearly his shtick. And sure enough, you just sort of, I make a video out of it, sort of, poking with a stick, see what will happen with it. And people got so angry, how dare you make fun of the nerd, you asshole, you blah, blah, blah. And eventually led to me contacting him, and we talked, and we turned into this big thing. So it's, just take any of that stuff. If you made a mistake, you stole a joke, I mean, or somebody's style, it's like, it happened. Everybody's stealing from somebody.
Yeah, but I made a bum review. I literally stole a bum. I did have the trench coat and the hat, but I had a blue wig and I had a brony shirt under it, and I was doing the MLP movie, which I'm pretty sure you've gotten a couple requests to do.
It's an homage. Honestly, if you're openly acknowledging, no, look, I'm doing this, something this person's done before, but I like it so much I want to try in this direction or satirize it. So that's an homage. I mean, that's really not stealing. Even when I did Disney Simber, I straight up said, look, I'm stealing this from Cinemassacre's Monster Madness. I'm not even going to hide it. This is what I'm doing. And people were fine with it. They're like, no, I want to see what you do with this. I mean, that's practically twice that, I took something from James Rolfe. But as long as you can still make it your own, which, again, it looks like you're doing, I mean, people can actually be more forgiving than you think. There's always going to be one or two people that are like, hey, you're this and you'll never be anything else. But it's like, if everyone else is like, dude, you're funny, let's see more, write it.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Shoot. Darn it. I forgot what I was going to say.
Don't you hate when that happens?
It had something to do with that bum review.
It was the greatest review you ever saw in your life.
No, it was just darn it! I completely forgot what I was gonna say. That's just when I did. So when I did that. Oh yeah, it was there was a quote by Penny Arcade, and they said, it's like, wait a minute, this game, it's like, I'm pretty sure you saw my review, the top 10 overhated games, what I said for Darksiders, how people were ragging on that game for just being too similar to other games. Well, it's like, well, I didn't view it as a ripoff. I viewed it as a homage. And Penny Arcade kind of said the same thing. I think it was about the same game, but anyways, they basically what they said is like, it's not a ripoff, it's it's an homage. Well, what's the difference? Whether or not I like it.
Well, that's always. I mean, this argument's going on for a long time. Like, what's the difference between a ripoff and an homage? In my opinion, an homage is acknowledging that I know we're stealing from this, but we're lovingly stealing from it. A ripoff, again, is, say, irate gamer taking jokes and say, oh, who's this video game nerd? I don't know this video game nerd. These jokes are totally original. We just happen to come up with it at the same time. It's denying the homage, essentially, is what a ripoff is. So that's my take on it. So honestly, as long as you can sort of acknowledge it and still come up with, like, other new stuff that can keep people coming, it's like, it's fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, if you're wondering what this is, it's a challenge coin.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those before.
Yeah, but actually, this one's custom made.
It's oh god, it's hard to read. What's it for? All military. Can't read the. Just tell me what it says.
For all military bronies.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and here's the other side.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's we had these custom made, and our website we like to coin people on the staff. It's like if I meet you, I'd probably coin you, because if it weren't for your inspiration, I wouldn't be here, and this website probably wouldn't exist. So.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, if I ever meet you again, you can expect a coin.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Yep.
So yeah.
So very cool. In about a few minutes here, I gotta head out because I gotta finish up I'm doing the Disney Sembers by popular demand videos here. So yeah, before wrapping up here, any other things you want to ask or chat about?
Let's see. I'm curious. Did you actually see my review of the pony while I was gone, or did you just not?
Oh, I'm sorry. We had to watch Hush Hush Ghost Rider for the next review.
Oh my gosh, you're doing Ghost Rider?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was my first time seeing it, and yeah, definitely plenty of material in that.
Oh gosh, it's really funny how Nicolas Cage said he actually begged to be Ghost Rider because he was a fan of the comics growing up.
And he looked so disinterested in being Ghost Rider. Like, yeah, I guess I'm a flaming skull. I don't know. Which is like, dude, guys, you're Nicolas Cage. If there's anyone that should be a flaming skull, it should be you. And you're so, like, mellow and mundane. And it's like, come on.
I'm the devil's messenger. He just said that with a deplorable apathy.
Yeah, we were just saying at the end, too, when he's like, when he's talking about, no, I'm not going to give it up because my father's blood and blood. It's like, dude, you so don't give a shit. Come on, you're Nicolas fucking Cage. Go Nicolas fucking Cage on us.
Yeah, lately his movies have been having him a little bit more stoic rather than crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe I get the idea because it's like, you're a flaming skull, so you kind of want to offset it with a more subdued guy, maybe. But it's like, I don't know. I just feel like when he's starting to change and you see him get the bulgy eyes and the big smile and stuff, it's like, yeah, here we go. But then he's the flaming skull, and that's cool, but we don't see him, you know? So,
what can you do? Yeah,
but no, I'll check it out though, because
it's just I love making fun of My Little Pony. It's just. It's not a bad show in any ways, but it's just so easy to make fun of. I don't know why.
Well, I always say, like, a lot of people say you have to love what you're satirizing. I disagree. I think you just have to have a passion for it, and that can also be for something that you love, though. Like like I said, I did a whole review of Hook, and I love that movie. You know, I think it's great. But yeah, I can totally make fun of it. I can totally point out all the things that don't make sense or kind of weird and awkward and stuff. But I still love it.
Yeah, I point out a nit. It's people have commented on this. It's like whenever I point out and nitpick things, and the overall tone of the entire review is very negative, mainly because that's the character. But the character is overly negative, and the persona I have is a bit of a brony in denial. He's like he's watching the show, but he doesn't want to admit it to himself that he likes it.
That's kind of funny. No, that's not a bad. That's not a bad angle. I like that.
And I feel I'm good at playing this character because, well, I was that character for a while. I was legitimately in denial. Looking back, it's hilarious.
I think it is so cool how it's like, you know, spawned so many people. Like I said, majority are male, which is just so fascinating. But it's like, you know, cool. You know, it's just one of those things where it's like, no, you have to like this because this is male and this is female. It's like, no, like whatever the hell you want. And that's, I don't know. I think it's really cool. It's kind of like if, you know, a girl likes horror movies or something like that. Nobody's going to be like, no, you can't do that. It's like, who gives a shit? So
yeah, it's just a stigma. It's like, it's okay for girls to like guy things, but it's not right for guys to like girl things.
Yeah, that is the thing. I think sort of the next thing that sort of has to be like sort of broken down, because I think there is so much a thought of like, oh, you're a guy, you know, or you're a white guy, so you get like everything and you have no problems and stuff like that. So there's still a few, you know, a couple walls that need to be broken down, but I think they kind of slowly are, you know. And I think something honestly sort of like that whole like the pony thing, and even sort of like Adventure Time, which I think has a lot of very feminine elements in it, but it's still liked by a lot of males. I mean, it's I think it's great. I think it's cool that like just people aren't caring that much anymore. It's like, no, I like it. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, still there are a lot of bronies who need to realize that, guys, this is still a show for little girls. You don't have to overanalyze things, and you don't have to freak out now that Twilight has wings now.
Yeah, that's gonna be
oh gosh.
That gets die hard enough. I mean, there's always going to be those.
It's the thing is that I actually got a prop here about whenever the fandom does something like they scream or overreact about something, I drink from this.
Me too.
It's like usually whenever Twilight with wings pops on screen, I just go like, this calls for a shot.
Nice. That's a good visual. So cool. Well, I gotta get out of here, man. But yeah, it was great chatting with you, and good luck with the videos, guy. I think you got some fun stuff there, and you got some good talent, and clearly you're rising. So yeah, just keep it going, man.
All right, thank you very much. Just gotta keep fighting those copyrights. Fight the good fight. I shall win.
Cut!